Hello, I'm Tom from Composite Designs. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and actually make the final mold that we need and show you how we do that, how we trim it and everything, and get ready for making the final pieces, so stick around. So we started off the usual way. We mixed parts A and B according to the manufacturer's directions, and just went ahead and put a light coat over everything to start saturating the fabric down when we started placing it out. Brush it out a little. Nothing really new compared to what we've done in the past. Now the one thing I'm going to say, I was a little disappointed in. Normally when you're using a polyester resin, the material or the chemicals in it will break the binder that holds the matte material down, and I'd always heard that that's not the case with epoxy resin. In this particular case, we are using an epoxy resin, and the manufacturer told me that that would not be an issue. I disagree, but I don't. I think it depends upon the shape. The areas that are free-flowing, very smooth, gradual, I think it worked great. For tight corners, I definitely had some issues with it. Not saying that I wouldn't use it again. As a matter of fact, I have since this video in another project that we're not doing on camera, but it's definitely something I'll consider in the future, which route to go. I'm going to try this actually, I think, with some high performance like E-glass or S-glass or something like that, and see how it works with the woven, or the woven type versus just a regular strand mat. And I knew it was a bit of a gamble, but it did work out in the end, so I don't have too many complaints. As you can see, we worked into the corners just like we normally do, and that's pretty much it. The first one is the most important. You're trying to keep air bubbles out. You don't want any gaps or anything like that between the previous surface coat, and we just kind of do our thing here. And I think we did, was it 4 layers on this one? There's 4 or 5 layers. Unfortunately, we've had a lot going on, and I'm coming back and narrating this after the fact. One of the other tricks that I found is, you'll see there is no material or resin up there to break up that binder, so I just ripped off that extra to be cut off anyway, and that kind of freed it up a little, the part that was down in, and it allowed us to get that to set down better into the corners. Again, not quite as well as we'd like, but again, ultimately the mold worked out fine, so I'm not worried about it. It was a learning experience, and this is the first real project that I've used this particular epoxy resin for, so you have to live and learn. So now we go on and we do it on the second coat, same way we did before. Let the extra resin from the previous coat kind of soak up through this one. Make sure it gets you good saturation that way. Obviously, you'll probably, depending upon how much left over, probably have to add more, which we did. And at this point, we've switched over to our final one, and now you just got to make sure everything gets smoothed out properly and is well coated. You don't want any dry spots that can cause delamination. There's no strength there. So we went ahead and did all that, and Then we went ahead and let it sit. I think I let this one sit for 3 days. I think I did it on a Friday, and I pulled it like that Monday. After going ahead and letting it cure, we went ahead and trimmed it with the multi-tool like we have before. We found a diamond coarse type blade, more for tile, grout, etc. Works much better than like a wood or metal blade. The wood and metal blades just don't seem to hold up with the glass. Once we've trimmed all the way around the edge, just got the excess off, we went ahead and removed all of the screws using a screwdriver. Once the screws are removed, we went ahead and started to take off the side pieces, and using some of our different wedges to get in between the outer surface coat of the mold and the MDF that we'd put at the sides. Once we got that free, we could get in and actually use some of our bigger wedges to get underneath between the bottom piece of MDF and the larger section. You will see this is one of the reasons that we say that plugs are expendable, because they don't always survive, particularly in this case with it being thin hydrocal. But ultimately the mold surface itself is smooth, needs a little bit of work here and there, and the mold needs to be cleaned up. But once that's done, we have a very usable mold that we can use to make lots of parts and pieces of the same thing over and over again. So we just kind of peeled some of the PVA off and went from there. So the final mold built, we're going to go ahead and make the final pieces that we need, final sub-assemblies, and go ahead and make it in the next episode. So if you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time.